Look, I'm just going to be straight with you about what went down, because honestly, I'm tired of everyone acting like I did something wrong here. Some guys just can't handle the idea that their girlfriend has genuine, deep friendships. Anyway, my name's Madison, I'm 23, and this whole mess blew up because my boyfriend, Jordan, couldn't handle the fact that my closest friend is a guy. Lorenzo and I met back in sophomore year of college, right when I was going through the ugliest breakup of my life. My ex had completely crushed my self-esteem and left me feeling like I was nothing. And Lorenzo, he was the only one who helped me put myself back together. We'd sit in the library until 2 in the morning, studying side by side. He'd bring me coffee, let me cry, and actually listen without making me feel stupid. He never told me to just get over it like everyone else did. From that point on, we became inseparable. We'd talk every single day, hang out all the time. And yes, we tell each other we love each other, because that's what real best friends do. Jordan knew all of this when we started dating 8 months ago. I was completely upfront about my friendship with Lorenzo from the beginning, because I'm not going to hide someone important to me just to make a guy feel better. At first, Jordan acted like he was fine with it, or at least pretended to be. I work in a corporate office doing admin work, while Jordan works in IT or something. Honestly, half the time when he talks about his job, it puts me to sleep, so I never really listened. But Lorenzo, he actually cares about what's going on with me. When my boss is being impossible or I'm stressed about bills, he's the one who will actually sit with me through it. He gets my humor, he makes me laugh, and he never makes me feel like I have to be this perfect girlfriend version of myself. With Jordan, it always felt like I had to walk on eggshells. With Lorenzo, I could just be me. Whenever Jordan started acting weird about our friendship, giving me passive-aggressive comments or glaring when Lorenzo called, I'd brush it off. I figured once he saw there was nothing shady happening, he'd drop it. But even then, I could tell he was threatened by what Lorenzo and I had. He'd get annoyed if I made plans with him, or joke about how much I talked to another guy. I'd just laugh it off. Like, what was he going to do? Demand I choose between him and someone who had been in my life for years? That was never going to happen. The truth is, Lorenzo has always been there for me in ways Jordan never was. When I'm spiraling about work or feeling insecure, Lorenzo knows exactly how to calm me down. Jordan, on the other hand, would just dismiss me or change the subject because he couldn't handle real emotions. Lorenzo and I share a bond that goes way deeper than casual friendship. We're each other's support system, and I wasn't going to apologize for that just because it made Jordan uncomfortable. A few months into my relationship with Jordan, Lorenzo's long-term girlfriend, Emma, dumped him completely out of the blue. She couldn't handle how much he talked to me or how close we were. Which, honestly, was ridiculous, because Lorenzo and I have never been anything more than friends. But whatever, her insecurities aren't my problem. Emma was always kind of cold and didn't really get Lorenzo anyway. He was devastated by the breakup, though. He'd call me at night, crying about how worthless he felt and how he'd never find someone again. And obviously, I was going to be there for him. That's what real friends do. I started spending more time with him, taking him out to dinner, staying on the phone for hours to make sure he was okay. Jordan immediately started acting like a child about it. He'd make little digs like, "Oh, another crisis with Lorenzo." Or, "Wow, you're spending a lot of time being his therapist." And I'd just be like, "Excuse me?" When I was going through my depression, Lorenzo was the one who actually carried me through it. Jordan wasn't even around back then, so he doesn't get to judge how I support my best friend now. The worst was when Jordan started with these so-called serious talks about boundaries. He'd say things in this condescending tone, acting like he was being so rational and mature. But really, he just wanted me to back away from Lorenzo when he needed me the most. He'd say stuff like, "It's weird how much emotional energy you give to another guy. What about me and my needs?" And I shut that down real quick. I'm not the type of girlfriend who dictates who my partner can and can't see, and I expect the same respect. But Jordan kept pressing, telling me it felt like he was competing with Lorenzo, that this wasn't a normal friendship. I told him straight up he was being paranoid, that Lorenzo was like a brother to me. And if Jordan couldn't handle that, maybe he wasn't ready for a real relationship. Because let's be real, what kind of person tries to cut their partner off from their support system? That's controlling behavior, plain and simple. Lorenzo was going through the worst pain of his life, and Jordan wanted me to just, what? Ignore him, leave him to deal with it alone, just because it made him insecure? That's not who I am. And if Jordan had a problem with my loyalty to my best friend, That said way more about him than it ever did about me. Things came to a head when Jordan got more aggressive about it. Every time Lorenzo called, Jordan would look like I'd betrayed him personally. One night, we were at Jordan's place watching some boring action flick he picked, when Lorenzo called in the middle of a panic attack. I stepped outside and spent about 40 minutes calming him down, talking him through it until he could breathe again. When I came back inside, Jordan was sitting there, arms crossed, sulking like a kid. Then he started blowing up at me about how I'd chosen Lorenzo over our date night. And that's when I lost it. Like, sorry that my best friend was having a mental health crisis and actually needed me. Seriously, what kind of heartless person gets jealous when their partner helps a friend through a panic attack? Jordan tried to walk it back, saying he understood Lorenzo was struggling, but then he hit me with this ridiculous bombshell. If we ever got really serious, like engaged, he wouldn't be okay with me keeping such a close friendship with another guy. I told him flat out that was never going to happen. Lorenzo has been family to me for years, and if Jordan couldn't deal with that, then maybe he wasn't my person. That turned into a huge fight. Jordan kept insisting I was disrespecting our relationship, even accusing me of emotionally cheating with Lorenzo. I kept firing back that he was being insecure and controlling, that true love means supporting your partner's friendships, not cutting them down. He kept tossing around words like boundaries and inappropriate, and I'm like, what's inappropriate about caring for someone who's been by your side through everything? Finally, I made it crystal clear, Lorenzo will always be in my life. If Jordan couldn't live with that, he knew where the door was. I thought that would shut him up, but instead he got all quiet and said he needed time to think about us. Honestly, I figured it was just a manipulation tactic to make me pick him over Lorenzo, so I told him to take all the time he wanted. Looking back, I should have noticed the red flags sooner. Jordan had always been trying to mold me into someone I wasn't, always making me justify my friendships, my choices, my independence. He wanted a girlfriend who revolved her entire life around him. But that's not me. I'm loyal, I value deep friendships, and I refuse to shrink myself just to inflate someone's ego. A couple weeks later, Lorenzo brought up finally doing that family trip we'd been talking about for years. His cousin lives up north, and since I have relatives nearby, it was something we always said we'd do together. I was so excited, not just because it had been forever in the making, but because with everything Lorenzo had gone through with Emma, it felt like the perfect way to help him heal and remind him of the fun we always had together. When I told Jordan, he completely lost it. He went on a whole rant about how inappropriate it was for me to go on some romantic getaway with another man. I explained over and over that we'd be in separate hotel rooms, that it was strictly platonic, but he wasn't listening. I couldn't believe how dramatic he was being about something so innocent. Lorenzo and I had traveled together before, like when we went to the beach 2 summers ago, and nothing ever happened because we're just friends. Jordan kept hitting me with, well, how would you feel if I went on a trip alone with another woman? And I was like, if she was your best friend and you'd planned it forever, I'd support you, because I'm not a possessive, jealous girlfriend. But he wasn't hearing it. He twisted it into me choosing Lorenzo over him, saying I was disrespecting our relationship. I tried to explain this wasn't about him, it was about me being there for someone who had always been there for me. But Jordan just kept pushing, saying crap about how it would look bad and how people would assume things. I'm like, since when do I live my life based on what other people might think? Then came the ultimatum. He told me to either cancel the trip with Lorenzo or he was done. I actually laughed in his face. He was really willing to throw away an 8-month relationship over a friendship that existed long before he came into the picture. I told him if he was that insecure and controlling, then maybe we weren't meant to be. I honestly thought he was bluffing, just trying to scare me into backing down. But the next morning, Jordan showed up at my place with this stone-cold look on his face. Without even sitting down, he told me it was over. Just like that, 8 months gone because he couldn't deal with me having a meaningful friendship with another man. I was stunned. I thought he'd come crawling back once he realized how ridiculous he was being, but he was dead serious. He gave me this long speech about how he couldn't handle always feeling like the third wheel, that he needed to be with someone who put their partner first. It was complete garbage. I told him he wasn't competing with Lorenzo, that they played totally different roles in my life. But Jordan was already checked out. He threw out some really cruel lines about how I was emotionally unavailable and didn't know how to set boundaries. I shot back that he was just intimidated by my bond with Lorenzo, and that maybe if he had been more supportive himself, I wouldn't have to lean on Lorenzo so much. That pushed him over the edge. He started yelling about how he tried to be understanding, but I'd chosen Lorenzo over him every single time. The whole thing blew up into this ugly screaming match, him calling me delusional for thinking my friendship was normal, and me calling him another insecure guy who couldn't handle dating a woman with independence. Before he stormed out, he said something that really pissed me off, that he felt sorry for any guy who dated me in the future, because I'd never be fully available to a partner. Like, excuse me? Just because I won't ditch my support system for some guy doesn't mean I'm not relationship material. As soon as he left, I called Lorenzo sobbing. He came over within the hour with takeout and a bottle of wine, and we sat there talking all night about what a controlling, insecure mess Jordan had been. Lorenzo reminded me of all the times Jordan tried to guilt me, to make me feel bad about a friendship that was completely healthy and supportive. And honestly, he was right. I didn't lose anything. I dodged a bullet. The weirdest thing was the sense of relief I felt, like I could finally breathe again without someone hovering over me, questioning every move I made. I hadn't even realized how much Jordan's guilt trips and little digs about Lorenzo had been weighing me down until it was all over. It's been about 10 weeks since the breakup, and honestly, it's been the best thing that's happened to me in a long time. Lorenzo and I actually went on that trip, and it was amazing. We explored the city, caught up with family, and I finally felt like myself again. No one breathing down my neck, no one criticizing my friendships. It just proved how wrong Jordan had been all along. But then last week, I bumped into Jordan's buddy Kyle at a coffee shop near my office, and he casually mentioned that Jordan's already seeing someone new. Apparently, she's a quiet co-worker who doesn't really have many close guy friends. Perfect match for him, I guess, exactly the type of girl he wanted, someone who'd make him the center of her world. Kyle went on about how at peace Jordan seems now, how different this new relationship feels. What really gets under my skin is how everyone seems to think I was the issue. Our mutual friends keep making little comments about how healthy Jordan's new relationship looks and how genuinely happy he seems. Meanwhile, I'm branded as the crazy ex who couldn't commit because I refused to drop a male friend. It's total nonsense. I never cheated, I was always loyal. The only thing I wouldn't do was let his insecurity run my life. Through it all, Lorenzo's been incredible, reminding me that I made the right call and that Jordan was never going to change. Sometimes he says things that make me wonder if he sees me differently than just a friend, but I try not to overthink it. What bothers me most is that Jordan gets to walk away looking like the good guy who found his perfect partner, while I look like the girl who threw away her relationship for her best friend. But here's what no one understands. Lorenzo has been there for me through everything, every panic attack, every meltdown, every moment I doubted myself. Jordan lasted 8 months and expected me to throw all of that away. Then came the curveball I never saw coming. About 2 weeks ago, Lorenzo told me he'd been talking to Emma again. Yes, Emma, the ex who dumped him partly because of our friendship. He said she reached out to apologize, and they'd been having long, deep talks about their past. He admitted they were thinking about giving it another try, slowly this time. I plastered on a supportive face, but inside, it felt like someone punched me. After everything we'd been through, after all the sacrifices I made for our friendship, he was running back to the same girl who couldn't stand how close we were. I asked what that meant for us, and suddenly he started talking about boundaries. Boundaries. The exact same word Jordan had used, the one I swore up and down was just controlling behavior. Now it was coming out of Lorenzo's mouth. He said maybe we shouldn't be talking every single day, maybe the solo trips weren't a good idea anymore. I couldn't even believe it. This was the same guy who told me I was right to stand up to Jordan, the same one who said, any guy worth having would celebrate your friendships. And now he was acting like limiting ours was just maturity. Last week, he officially texted me to say he and Emma were back together, and that he thought it would be best if we took a step back from our friendship. He said maybe down the road we could still be friends, but in a different way. So here I am, 3 months after losing Jordan because I wouldn't compromise my friendship with Lorenzo, and now I've lost Lorenzo too, because he's willing to compromise that friendship for Emma. The irony is brutal. This was the friendship I called unbreakable, the one I swore mattered more than any relationship. It's the friendship I sacrificed my boyfriend for, and now it's gone, too. And the worst part. Jordan's words keep echoing in my head. When he said I'd never be fully available to a romantic partner. At the time, I thought he was just being petty. But maybe he saw something I couldn't. Maybe I was so wrapped up in this ideal of friendship that I never realized how it was affecting everything else. But no, that's ridiculous. I know the truth. I was loyal to Jordan. I was a good friend to Lorenzo. I shouldn't be punished for refusing to cut off the people who matter to me. If they couldn't handle that, that's on them, not me. I won't sit here and second-guess myself just because things didn't play out the way I thought they would. Some people just don't understand what true loyalty looks like. That's their loss. So I'm focusing on myself now. Maybe I'll travel alone, maybe I'll build new friendships with people who actually get it. But one thing I know for sure, I'm done letting people make me feel guilty for caring deeply. I know my worth. I'm not going to change who I am for anyone. Not Jordan. Not Lorenzo. Not anybody.